Hey, Brandon, I've got your Smell the Roses up. This is what I have at the moment. Not sure what I should change or add. Absolutely, I'll be glad to give you some direction here. Right now, listen, I'll be really. Let me see if I want to check. Okay, Brandon, I just want to be really honest and say that I think that we're pretty underdeveloped right now. Um, there's a few areas that I'm pretty concerned about. I don't think there's been a whole lot of progress since the last time we saw this. But there's a few areas of concern. Mainly, I still think the communicative message is very much in a position to be misunderstood. And I mentioned this last week, and I hope my comments make sense. But the fact that the actual shape in the background is that of a traditional gravestone. And I know I've said that before, and I hope you understand. I mean, that's the first thing I saw when I opened this. I thought, oh, that's a gravestone. And it's all it is. It's this shape. And this theoretically could be a graphic scene on a gravestone. Absolutely. I mean, you put a name on it, and it's appropriate, right? So I think the communicative message is a little bit mixed here. My recommendation is to maybe think about that shape in the background and what the connotative message is that it's sending. Okay. Um, as far as the illustration itself goes, I think we have some issues with the color. The basic color for the background, you've got the color for the background of the piece, the background of the shape, and the rose. Therefore, we have very, very limited contrast. So when we zoom out, and I like to zoom out to kind of mimic the what it would be like to look at the piece in at a distance. But this is the farthest I can zoom out in this particular piece. So when you open this, just zoom out and take a look. Things will start disappearing, and when things start disappearing in a composition, it's indicative of a lack of contrast. So, for instance, this area right here is really going to disappear when this is seen at a distance. And my recommendation is to improve the contrast associated with the background color. I would not use the background color as the same color as the rose petals itself. The strong point of the piece is the hand. I think the hand is done quite nicely. Kind of begging for color, though, definitely. Also, the rose itself, I think, is really, really underdeveloped. You have a wonderful opportunity here to really create an amazing illustration, and I think you're well on your way. But as I said, it just appears to be incomplete. So what I did is I just went over here and I just did a quick Google image search, and I think what did I? Oh, it just said Adobe Illustrator draw a rose, and there's all sorts of these really cool graphics. With look at all the detail and the shadow and highlights in the rose petals, the leaves, the stem. That's gorgeous, isn't it? And there's just example after example after example of really compelling and engaging illustrations of roses. And these are tutorials too. This is an Illustrator tutorial, how to draw a rose. Um, what's that one says? How to draw inside. I don't know what that means. How to use draw inside. I'm not sure what that means, but you definitely want to take a look at these. And there's plenty of tutorials here. So there's all sorts of stuff here. Another thing I would recommend is the use of shapes. So I'm going to just back off on this a little bit so that we can see the shape of that background right there. And again, that's the part I recommend you don't use, but it's uneven. See how that arc is uneven? So you could use shapes here. You could basically use arcs, circles, and rectangles to create a perfect shape for the background. Although I do not recommend using this shape. I think another problem is the fact that you're kind of forced into using this shape because of the fact that this hand is just kind of coming out of nowhere. You see what I'm saying? So without the shape, the hand gets severed, and that's going to create some kind of uncomfortable visual tension. So again, I think you've got some decisions to make, but I would definitely say we want to push this a lot more detail, and remember, take a look at some of those resources that I mentioned. But I'd like to see a lot more detail by the time we're ready to turn this in at the end of the week. Okay? If you have any questions at all, please let me know, and I'll be glad to make any clarifications. Thank you very much.